Alright, g'day, hi, and welcome. I got another one of those voiceovers. I know it's not exactly the way I wanted to do my blogging, but until I get the mic adapter for my GoPro, this is what I'm going to do. But today's video I think is quite important because it's something that is so fundamentally overlooked for a lot of riders that they don't realize just how important it is. They kind of know, but they kind of don't. They don't give it the urgency and the importance that it actually is, and that's simply you go where you look. I cannot stress this enough. Now, you'll hear me in a lot of my videos harp on low speed handling and stuff like that, and why it's so important to really be comfortable on the bike at low speeds, regardless of the bike. And I want you to watch something here as I pull out whenever I go. Okay, so I pull out on the road and I'm going. Okay, nothing too eventful there. There was other cars coming, no problem. Another car coming, no problem. Okay, everything's normal. But notice what I didn't do. And I see a lot of riders do this. And I see it everywhere. And it's mostly guys and girls on bigger bikes. We're talking tour bikes, that type of thing. Baggers, Gold Wings, Harleys, that type of stuff. Really big bikes. And they'll come out of even on an angle like that, or come out straight. It doesn't really matter. They come out, they cross the double line, and they come back in onto their side. And I think a lot of people don't realize, and I've heard the argument that, well, yeah, it's a big heavy bike, your bike's nice and light, you don't have to do that. It's not an excuse. You've got 10 feet of lane there. There's no reason to cross the double line pretty much at any time, unless it's a passing lane. That's the only time you should ever be crossing the double line. And I'll do a video just on that, because that does cost a lot of lives. It's a mistake that I think cost a lady her life about 2 or 3 weeks ago from the making of this video. Just in a nearby, well, not that nearby, but probably about 160 kilometers here, about 100 miles away from here. There was a lady, she just pulling out of the driveway on a bike, big tour bike. I can't remember if it was a Gold Wing or a Ventura or something like that, or whatever, the Nomad, or one of these big bagging bikes, right? And that's what she did. She came out and she crossed over the double line, oncoming traffic, ended up bang, dead stop. And I mean, we're talking like not even 10-mile-an-hour accident here. And now, unfortunately, that lady's no longer with us. And that's just one example of probably thousands. So why do you think this happens? Is it because the bike is heavy and big and bulky? No, not so much. I've ridden a Gold Wing before. I've ridden I think the heaviest bike I've ever ridden was probably a Road King. I didn't own it, but I knew a guy that owned it. He let me try it. And if it wasn't the Road King, it was definitely the engine-wise, the Road King was the biggest one, probably. No, maybe it was the Vulcan. So Vulcan 1500. It is an older one, but big heavy bike. And then of course, I don't know, 5, 6 different Gold Wings I've ridden. Most of them were older, back in the 90s, some of them from the 80s. These are all top-end heavy bikes. Same with the Ventura at the time. It was the top-end heavy bike. And they didn't do well at low speed in the sense of zipping through traffic, because they're big, bulky, they were too wide. They're not a pizza delivery bike, I get that. But they handled well enough at low speeds that really there would be no, like, I never had a problem even with my my Panhead or like that, which was a 1200. It was a plenty heavy bike, and I've ridden Virago 1400, you name it all. I've tried just about. I used to work at a bike shop, so I tried just about everything. And the problem wasn't the bike. It's not the bike. It's not the rake of the bike. It wasn't the weight of the bike. It was people not looking in the right place when they're coming out of their lane. So why am I putting so much emphasis on this little scenario? It's because even this weekend past, I was out riding around. I ran into a group of about 25 bikers or so, parked off at one spot. So I stopped to talk to them, and almost all of them, when they took off to go on their run, they all did the same thing. They come out. There were Harleys. There was sport touring bikes. There were BMWs. I think there was an Indian there. There was all kinds of stuff there. And I would say probably half of them come out of the place. Now they had one guy blocking traffic, just so all the bike could stay together as a pack. and then what ends up happening is as they're coming out, they're like crossing over the other side of the line, and then they come back in. And I seen bike after bike after bike do this, and then you would see some of them again, two up, guy and the girl, to get up, to get right to the road. The tire just touches the road, and they're almost straightened up and in the proper spot of the lane where they want to be. And this is a full bagger. So why does the one rider fully loaded turn the bike properly and the other one doesn't? Well, again, they're not looking in the right spot. And you go where you look. If you look down, you're going to end up on the ground. When you're going through a corner, this is also where people overshoot corners. And it's not necessarily because they go too fast. It's because they're not looking in the right spot. If you are coming around a corner, and even a more experienced rider will have this problem too. I have this problem as well. I'm not what you would call well, I'm experienced enough. It's just, I just got back into it after 20 years. But the same problems of not looking in the right spot that would have plagued me 20 years ago still will plague you today if you don't discipline yourself. When you go into a corner, okay, whether you're on a light bike like mine, again, my bike 374 pounds, or if it's a 734 pound bike, it doesn't really matter. You go where you look. So you come into a corner and you look, when you're entering the corner, you're looking at the apex. When you get to the apex, you're looking at the exit, etc., and you go where you look. But what messes people up, particularly on shorter corners, is as they're coming around the corner, okay, they see traffic coming the other way, and they'll briefly look at the oncoming cars, and the bike, wherever you look, your bike will respond to that. And you'll see if you're following another rider and they're kind of like dipping in and out of the corner as they go. The apex, they come out, the apex, they come out, and they do this several times. It's not a smooth line through the corner. It's because they're looking all over the place. That's not 99% of it, is because they're looking all over the place. So when you're coming around, and especially for the sharper corner, you start looking at the oncoming traffic, your bike's going to start to straighten up on you. And then people get scared, and then they look down, and then the bike dives back in, and they look back, across to the traffic. Next thing you know, they're on the other side of the road in the ditch, right? Or they go, or they high side the bike. You have to learn how to ignore the oncoming traffic. Now, I'm going to do another video about not riding too close to the line, especially on tight corners, because yes, bikes can zip through the corners. Even the big baggers, they zip through corners no problem. But cars and particularly pickup trucks, you could have a series of curves, one after another. The pickup truck typically goes right through the center. They always come across the line. So what you want to do is always give yourself a margin of error. Again, picking your lanes and being in the right spot for your lane. But when you're coming around the corner, you want to just be able to concentrate on the corner. Looking into the corner. Sometimes if you're following a vehicle too closely, you kind of lose yourself in the corner because you can't see the road anymore. The car is right where you want to look. So you got to learn how to kind of look through the vehicle to where you want to be. And that can be a bit of a kind of a weird thing to, because it's not natural to try to, because you have a moving object on top of the surface you're trying to look at. But you have to be able to learn how to do that. So you have to learn how to ignore the traffic coming the other way during the corner. And you have to learn how to, when you're coming out of a place at low speeds, to, where do you want the bike to be when you make your final turn. You have to stop looking at the bike. You have to basically learn to trust the bike. And a lot of people have problems with that because, again, the whole concept of you go where you look is exactly that. So if you're looking at the bike, you're not looking at the road, you're chasing the front end of the bike all over the road. If you're looking at where you want to be, and kind of, it doesn't seem natural at first, but when you do, the more you find yourself off the bike, so to speak, and looking at the road, the smoother through the line you go through a curve, whatever it is. I always try to make sure that I do the smoothest line. Yeah, everybody gets sloppy from time to time, but you always want to make sure that you go through the corner as smoothly as possible. And again, oncoming traffic ahead of you, this all can kind of mess with your field of view and distract you. So you have to kind of get a little bit more mentally hardened to really commit to the corner, so you're not putting yourself into danger. The last thing I'll say is, and you'll see tons of video footage of this, the target fixation. Again, you go where you look. You'll see a guy either coming in too fast at a corner or whatever, and he looks at a hydro pole or a road sign, and be damned. I mean, the thing's got a, a road sign's got like an inch and a half bar on it, and be damned if he doesn't hit it, dead on. Why? Because that's what he's looking at. The other thing you'll see is two bikes going into the ditch at the same time, one guy after another, because the guy's following the other guy and he's looking at the other guy as they're going around the corner. So when that guy goes in the corner, he's still looking at that bike going in. The first thing, and this is going to sound again very unintuitive, but don't look at somebody else going into the ditch or you're going to follow them. That's why there's usually a 1-2 crash, even though the other guy may have plenty of time to stop. It's you go where you look. So the thing is if your buddy goes in, refocus immediately on where you need the bike to be on the road. Stop, go around, go help out your buddy. Don't don't follow him into the ditch. So you go where you look is such an important. I know some of the stuff sounds obvious, but sometimes you need to hear it out loud to really respect of what you got to do, because 95% of our input on a motorcycle is visual. The rest, again, you want to be 95% off the bike as you're riding and paying attention to the road and stuff like that. It keeps you safer. You don't want to be looking at the bike while you're riding it. You want to be kind of ignoring the bike. Just let the bike do its thing and you're along for the ride. But most importantly, you go where you look. You go where you look. You go where you look. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. So anyway, there we go. Have yourselves a great day.